Coming to you live from Gazorpazorp. Death, destruction, sex robots? What more could a man like me ask for? This is Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast.
Hello, everybody. I'm Travis.
Hello, everyone. I am Brandon.
And what more could a guy like you ask for, Brandon? I mean, really.
Toys R Us not to go bankrupt.
I want to be a Toys R Us kid. Not a sponsor. I mean, they really aren't sponsoring anything at this point. Welcome to Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. So happy you could join us after a week off of relaxation and sunshine.
So happy.
As the snow continues to fall in the middle of April in Omaha, Nebraska.
Our climate couldn't be any more different.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm ready for spring. Hopefully we don't just skip it this year. Anyway, this is a podcast about Rick and Morty. So happy you are listening to it. If you want to talk back at us, clap back, if you will, then head over to these various social media outlets, such as Twitter at Rick and Morty Pod, over on Reddit, Rick and Morty Podcast.reddit.com, the Facebook.com/Rick and Morty Podcast. If you still use Facebook, I'm not judging. We're there. We're there if you need to talk. More or less.
I know what advertisements were tailored toward me.
If you want to send an email, rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. You can buy a shirt, apatheticenthusiasm.com/shop, or support the show directly on patreon.com/rickandmortypod. Thank you to everyone that's sending us a few dollars.
Yeah, thank you one and all. We sincerely appreciate you.
Yeah, most deaf. This is our first back to normals. I mean, for the most part, what's really normal about this podcast? Back to normal podcast after a bit of fun a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure we can chat about that a little bit more. But thanks to everybody. If you got a little confused by our scheduling, we kind of had back-to-back episodes and then took our week off. But we're ready. Are you refreshed, Brandon? You took some vacation. Are you ready to get into it? Dig back into the reviewing of a show that's nearly 4 years old at this point.
I'm digging in. I'm digging deep. I'm digging deep into the heart of my soul. Like everybody's soul has a heart of its own. It's four-chambered. It's a four-chambered heart. It's kind of like a cow's stomach, but it's a
but it's a heart. It's a soul heart.
Yeah, and instead of blood, it pumps food.
I feel like the best way to really engage my soul heart is to discuss semi-pertinent news.
That's right. Semi-pertinent news.
I don't know if that was an intro song or the THX sound effect.
That was a it was sampled. It was sampled from We'll Meet Again. Vera Lynn, it's everyone knows that.
Everybody knows that. I'm surprised you didn't know that. All right, first things to talk about. It is the month of April, and now it's pretty much a staple of Rick and Morty that we have some sort of April Fool's event take place. And even though it's been 2 weeks now, we need to take the time to discuss a little bit about what went down on April 1st with Rick and Morty.
This is the first we're back. We did talk about this over on Apathetic Enthusiasm. So if you listen to that show, sorry. Hello, here's a repeat. Sorry.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too deep in everything.
Let's not get too deep. We have lots of other things to get deep into.
Jam-packed show. It's packed. But yeah, we if you listen to our last episode, not on the 1st of April, you might be confused. But yeah, we did a little April Fool's prank-a-rooney with the good folks over at the Rick and Morty subreddit. The whole Jimmy Neutron thing. Thank you to everyone who listened to that episode. If you enjoyed it, thanks for your feedback. If you didn't like it, thank you for that feedback also. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. We're definitely still making Rick and Morty podcasts, and we will probably not include a Jimmy Neutron segment, at least not in this episode.
Yeah, not in this episode. It was fun. We had an influx of listeners. So if you're new to the show, we appreciate you listening. And we hope to keep you and hope to have fun with you as the days go on. Uh,
Yes.
and also, yeah, let's all tweet at Dan Harmon and call him Ultra Lord and get him pissed off at this show to where he'll Harmon block us 2018.
Sure, of
Uh,
course.
the other
Thanks. I
oh,
was
go
going to
ahead.
say thanks to Animation Success Stories and all of the moderators over at Reddit for the inclusion or the support, and then Ryan Elder for the amazing song that he included. So yeah, and so we did all that, and we kind of enjoyed the whole day of watching the Jimmy Neutron nonsense and seeing the response to our episode that we released, and then in the wee hours of the night, Rick and Morty, Adult Swim, they come back and drop an April Fool of their own.
They drop an April Fool's bomb on us, and before we get into it, we wanted to tailor our song, our intro to this new April Fool's gag of Adult Swim. So I'm remastered it, and here we go. This is our new intro. Coming to you live from a Bushworld adventure. Everything here looks hastily animated, and the Bush Wizard says we've nearly made it to Bendigo. This is Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Bushworld podcast adventure. Yes, that's right. I'm Brandon Cruz. That's Travis, and
Hi,
we
I'm
are
Travis. It's the new Bushworld Adventure podcast.
We're talking about Bushworld adventures. Yeah. So they came out with a Rick and Morty esque animated just short, written and directed by Michael Cusack, who is an Aussie by all accounts, and
Yeah,
it's basically an
I
Australian
think that's
version.
a fair assessment, maybe.
And it's basically a Rick and Morty in Australia. So Travis, what did you think of it as when you watched it?
First impression is I was a little bit of shock. I had some lulls, and then really the first other thought was it reminded me a lot of the Adventures of Doc and Marty,
Yeah.
the original Justin Roiland's short, and I think in part just because of the animation style and the way that it looked. It's not, I mean, it's not too close to Roiland's classic style that he usually uses, but it had flavors that kind of crossed over there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That when I was watching it on like a crappy stream April Fool's Day, while I was trying to get our website back up, mind you, and uh, and that I caught the part where he's like, "Put the grub in your cock, Morty. Just put the grub." Whatever he's saying, and then the other part where he's just like talking about shooting Morty in the head, like, "I'm actually gonna kill you, Morty. I'm actually gonna kill you. This is a gun." And that night I thought it was humorous, and I thought of, like Doc and Marty right away, Channel 101 stuff, and then I watched it again tonight before this episode, obviously, and I like, yeah, it's my wife Chelsea. She's like, they don't even get like what made Rick and Morty popular, and I was like, well, this kind of goes back to before any Rick and Morty that we know and love was a thing. Like, this is closer to that humor than it is to Rick and Morty humor. So
It
I
it
thought that was interesting.
is, and I think that while it is much more in line with some of just the straight up crazy Adult Swim stuff that passes for cable television now, but just that kind of unconnected, yeah, it just everything moving in a bunch of different directions. I think the writing of Rick and Morty makes it feel a lot more concise and have that story circle or whatever, if you will. But this was much more of like a crazy episode that I don't know, I thought was good, but I don't think it replaces Rick and Morty. It just is sort of like a nod to it. Like, okay, we are inspiring another short off Rick and Morty. Maybe to appease people that didn't get any season 4 yet.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. But if you haven't watched it, Unity, go out and watch it. Tell us what you thought of it. If you have seen it, also tell us what you thought of it.
Yes.
We'd love to hear you.
And the crazy thing is they're like embracing this fully with like merchandise and stuff. I was at Hot Topic last week, and there was like the Bushworld Adventure version of like Rick on a shirt. So I mean, they're taking everything they can get over at Adult Swim, and good on them.
Good on them. Go get that merchandising, Adult Swim. Also, give us season 4. It kind of ties into also Bushworld Adventures. Seth Rogen's Hilarity for Charity came out this last week.
Yeah, on Netflix. Dun dun.
And in this, they have the Muppets, they have John Mulaney, they've got a bunch of comics and comedy. Hilarity for Charity. And Justin Roiland also came out with a short animated clip featuring Cher and Itty in the
Good
Apple
old
stand
classic
camper.
Cher and Itty.
I love those guys. Cher and Itty. It's on Netflix. 39 minutes and 50 seconds. We timestamped it. Go watch it. If you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, send us what your thoughts. I don't want to ruin
spoil
it
anything. I just want. Yeah, it's Netflix level Justin Roiland for sure. I'll say that much.
Yes, and it's shocking to me that it's like the Muppets a little bit earlier in there, and then the Apple stand caper.
Yeah, it's
two ends of the spectrum. It's pretty great. So go ahead and check that out.
I also love how much Seth Rogen loved that short, and he does his legit like like whatever his laugh is.
Yeah,
coming back on stage.
The first time I watched it, I thought it was funny. The second time I watched it with Chelsea again, I caught her reaction to it, and she reacted like, "Oh God." And it just I lost it at that point in time because I think same thing with Seth Rogen, knowing what was coming onto the screen and then gauging everyone else's reactions is what makes it funnier.
Well, there you go. So there's some semi-pertinent news, slightly more pertinent, and this is something that we tweeted earlier in the week, is a crossover coming from Omni Press and IDW Comics. It's a Dungeons and Dragons Rick and Morty crossover event. Mm-hmm. So this is a crossover comic event that at first when you tweeted this out, I got like really excited because I didn't realize it was just going to be a comic book. When I saw Dungeons and Dragons and Rick and Morty crossover, I was like, it's happening. I'm finally playing a role-playing game. This is about to go down.
Yeah. And then you saw it was a comic and you said, okay, well, I don't care anymore. I don't want to read this.
I will include it on my Amazon list of all the comics that I would like to buy, but am not putting money towards.
Yeah, my local shop, I think I put it on. I think I actually wrote it down. Comic Spot, on my list of subs. But if I didn't, hey John Michael, if you're listening,
could you add that to your sub list? That is the most amazing thing ever. If you could manage your comic subscriptions via podcast, that'd be something else. I think that's really awesome. But it's cool to see that they're branching out and getting involved with some other franchises and things like that. So if you're into the Rick and Morty comics, then definitely go check out this crossover event. Brandon,
due in
it's time,
August.
It's time for a mini segment within a segment. It's time for the Dan Harmon Tweet Minute.
It's Dan Harmon Tweet Minute. I'm saying minute, tweeting minute again. This is from Dan Harmon. Really, I should have used 2 because it's been a couple weeks, but I only stuck with 1. I mean, we only have enough time for 1.
It's only a minute.
It's only a minute. Here's what Dan Harmon says. He says, no joke, very curious. When you get deja vu, do you immediately think, oh, fun? Or do you immediately think, oh, fuck, this means I'm about to die? Spoilers, I am in the latter category and would like to hear that's not a totally unique reaction.
Which you actually responded to this tweet, correct?
I did. I don't remember. I don't remember what I said.
Oh.
Oh, deja vu. That's what I'm having. Yeah. Yeah, no. Okay, I do.
Well, how do you feel right now, Brandon?
I do remember. Yeah, my grandmother. She always, on the Hispanic side, it's the Cruz part of my name. If you see me, you're like, you look no, you don't look Hispanic at all. She used to say, "Oh, Brandon Hito, that's the devil. The devil's trying to trick you." And so it's always stuck with me.
All right.
Not that I believe in the devil, but hey, that's a cool thing to scare the shit out of a little
The
kid.
fact that he'd take the time to trick you, of all people.
As in, like,
Yeah,
driving down the 605.
I've
Like,
I've never felt a negative connotation or anything with deja vu, so I think I fall into the oh fun category.
huh.
And there are times when I'm like, I don't. At first, I could think oh fun, and then I think oh science, and why is my brain doing this? Like why do I feel like I've already experienced this, or what's going on? Like what's misfiring to cause? And then it gets me thinking about all memories in general and how every experience that I've ever had is just a story I tell myself now. And anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah, you're freaking me out, my friend. You're freaking me the f out.
So yeah, let us know, and let Dan Harmon know what your feelings are on deja vu and whether or not you think you're gonna die or if it's fun or both. Either way. All right, I think that's enough.
Moving on.
That's enough semi-pertinent news. It is definitely time to move on to the main thing.
Whoa, main thing. I'm just sticking with the theme.
It started out very like strong bad, and then ended just dark and depressing. But yeah, it's time for the main thing. We're reviewing Raising Gazorpazorp this week.
Yeah,
another
that's right.
classic episode from season 1, originally aired March 10th, 2014. Written by Eric Acosta and Wade Randolph, directed by Jeff Myers.
Yes, sir.
Seventh episode.
Seventh episode. What a great show seventh episode was. CW, right? CW was that?
Yeah, seventh episode. It only ran one season though.
Well, where was it? Oh yeah. Oh, weird. Okay. Here's the Reddit synopsis. In a pawn shop in space, Rick buys Morty a sex robot. Soon after, the robot conceives Morty's child, who is half human, half alien. Rick and Summer go to the sex robot's planet of origin, Gazorpazorp, to find better suited parents for Morty Jr. After discovering that the Gazorpian females are the dominant gender on the planet, Rick and Summer discover that the males of this species mature in only days. After breaking a planetary rule, Rick and Summer try and figure out how to escape death. Morty Jr.'s quick aging teaches Morty about parenting. Bro. That's how that shit. That's how that shit.
Spelled with an H.
Bro.
Yeah, this is an interesting episode that is occasionally referred back to, the race of Gazorpazorpians, and
Yes.
yeah, we have a classic character, Morty Jr., who finally
nice.
makes Morty a father. What is your initial feelings when you think back upon this episode, Brandon? Do you look back fondly, or do you hate this episode?
Do
you feel like you're gonna die when you watch this episode?
Every time I watch this episode, I feel like I've seen it before. This is one of the episodes that, like, I know about and I think about. It's actually pretty clear in my memory whenever I do think about it, but it's not one that I immediately leap to as far as let's talk about that. Let me quote the hell out of this episode. I do like the episode. I like it more now than when I originally watched it, and probably probably when I watched it last, I found a new appreciation for it as my kid grows older, and my wife and I, we talk about how we end up hating our parents in some way, shape, or form eventually. It just and we don't want that from our kid to hate us, and so it's just
there was lying. There was violence, physical violence.
Yeah, it's just it's weird that cycle. And we could talk a little bit more about that later. But
Yeah.
what about you?
Yeah, I think this is a episode that doesn't tend to stand out to me when I think back on Rick and Morty. If people are like, "Oh, what episodes do you really like?" This usually isn't the one that comes up. I agree with you that I do enjoy the episode, but I feel like it is as cookie cutter. I don't even like that word, but it's pretty standard of a Rick and Morty episode as you can get for Rick and Morty. I feel like I don't know everything's kind of just really linear, and they get through the A and B plots pretty. I don't know. It just seems to hit all the right things and trucks along, and then in the end, they kind of fix it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but not to necessarily say that's a bad thing, but it definitely doesn't stand out like some of the other episodes do.
Yeah, it's basically just it's a Rick and Morty bottle episode where everything starts and ends, and then it's wrapped up, and there's no consequences for the series as a whole.
Yeah, because I'm the artist of Marmaduke.
Some production notes here. When this episode was first screened, a bunch of crew members happened to bring their kids, families along to the studio for the animatic. And after the breakfast scene, it was pretty clear that it would be an especially hilarious, awkward viewing.
I can't imagine accidentally bringing your family to this.
Yeah. I mean, this far into production too. I can say I watched it with my wife and kid earlier, and he doesn't get it yet. He doesn't understand that stuff. So
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get it. I'm a bad parent. I get it.
Yeah.
As I look at the camera, I get it. The giant head on Gazorpazorp is based off the film Zardoz, starring Sean Connery. I've never seen it. Don't plan on it.
I've seen a picture of the original floating head, but that's about it.
And his costume, it's gorgeous. You mentioned this a minute ago using Marmaduke creator Brad Anderson. Someone to poke fun at who is them, like Jim Davis, and I read, or I didn't read, I watched the commentary of this episode right before we started recording, and they talked about it, and they talked about like they kind of felt bad using Brad Anderson because he was like 74 at the time, and he was just like kind of an old man. He's probably like really nice, but at the end they're like, just whatever.
Like it feels like they needed like a Mr. Rogers sort of character for that, just to be like a completely like wholesome and non-threatening individual that you could completely subvert that idea and just be like, yeah, but he bottles his rage and spits out Marmaduke comics. So yeah, I mean, no bad feelings, Brad Anderson.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. There's lots of boobs in Gazorpazorp. We know that. As men, we know boobs. To being sexist, I guess. Am I being sexist? Am I being sexist to men? If like, is that sexist towards women? If and we're like, we know boobs when like women have boobs.
Like,
I mean, we have boobs too.
Like, I think the reasoning that you're giving is the reason why I would say I am no expert on boobs by virtue of being a man.
Well, I mean, we get breast cancer too, Travis. So, I think you need to start paying attention.
Is that your hashtag me too?
I have the pink ribbon, and I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to pay attention because I need to. It runs in my family. So.
All joking aside, do your checks. Ladies.
No, I know you said all joking aside, and I laughed.
I had to drop that Jim Gaffigan, like, anything is creepy if you end the statement with the word ladies.
Yeah. Finally, the Latin wording on the throne supposedly might translate something like "you're always wrong, lying," but that translation was incorrect. I don't know if I think maybe my Reddit notes are out of date, perhaps. Okay.
All right, that's possible. All right, so let's get into a few of these discussion points. First up, what did you think about the black and white portrayal of gender in this episode? Do you think it was inspired by genre science fiction, an all-male writer's room, a purposeful caricature poking fun at the way things are portrayed, or something entirely different?
Ooh, I've been talking a lot, Travis. Why don't you? I have an answer for it, but I want to give you a chance because I talk a lot. This is
Sure.
Interdimensional RSS featuring Brandon
I
with
mean, in a
Travis.
way, it is. But anyway, yeah, I think it's definitely probably comes from maybe the writer saying, "Hey, let's have a planet where everything's run by women. Let's do something where, especially for a character like Rick, who is very misogynistic and doesn't seem to respect women up to this point. Let's put him in a situation where he thinks he's in control, and then completely flip that. And really, this is the first episode where we see Summer go on an adventure with Rick. So I think that opens the door for kind of changing the landscape. And he's like, oh, I can't take a girl on an adventure with me
I think it
because
says chick.
all these ridiculous reasons, and then that just is more setup for the eventual discovery on Gazorpazorp.
Yeah. Uh, I one of the reasons I listened to the commentary was one to find out what they said on the commentary, and it had Ridley, Harmon, and Royland. And but the second reason was specifically because I felt like I remember that there were no women in the writers' room for season 1 and season 2 maybe, and with that in mind, with all the women jokes that were going on, whether or not they had input from women for some of that, right?
Right.
And uh, we like I watched it with my wife, and then like we looked at each other and we laughed at parts where uh, the the great passive aggression where they split from the men, and some of those male female jokes that are they're stern about, and they are kind of like stand-up comedian kind of go-to jokes and really easy to make, and I just kind of wonder how different it would have been if if Jessica Gao was there at that point in time contributing in some way, shape, or form, or Sarah or any of those folks. So
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think the way that the episode played out, like this question actually saying like the black and white portrayal of the genders, maybe it wouldn't have been as intense as it was in this episode if there'd been a more diverse writers' room. But at the same time, they're really trying to play up certain stereotypes, and whether the stereotypes are right or wrong, or they're focusing on an existing set of sometimes harmful stereotypes.
Right. It kind of reminds me of there was something on Twitter not too long ago, and this is very like semi pertinent to what we're talking about. It was maybe about like 2 weeks ago, and this guy, an author on Twitter, said, I'm a male and I can write for female characters. And then he had an excerpt of him writing for female characters, and it was like he she saw him and she thought of what he must be thinking of her. My lips and my eyes and my figure, my 5'4", 36, 24, 36 figure, what he must be thinking that. And like that was his example of writing for a female character, where he is imagining the female character imagining what the guy is thinking about
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
And so on Twitter, a bunch of women went and they were making fun of him. It was hilarious. Anyways, that's kind of applies here with them writing for a female character, like, but in their perspective in comedy. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
I can't speak to it because I've got I've got testicles. Summer. Okay. Anyways, thought exercise, Travis. Based on everything you've seen, what do you think Rick's views are toward women? Does he respect them, or does he lean more towards the men's rights sides of things? Discuss. I didn't know we were gonna get the super, you know, uh, you know,
Serious?
gender political here.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's do it. Let's do
I
it.
mean, so my thought, based on everything I've seen, which includes seasons 2 and 3,
Yeah.
I would say that Rick's number one concern is Rick, and by virtue of Rick being male, he cares more about maybe a male agenda because that serves Rick's best interest, which is what he cares about. I think he's definitely he's got emotional feelings and potentially levels of respect for women, but they are particular women, maybe like Unity or which again isn't necessarily a woman, more of a collective
A being.
but yeah, so I think that there may legitimately have been a connection there between him and Beth's mom, but we still haven't seen a legitimate depiction of that relationship. So I don't know.
Right. We can't know. I think the answer here is he resentful or indifferent? Indifferent is the word because he doesn't really care so
Yeah.
long as he gets his. You know.
Yeah,
You know,
he
you know what I'm
doesn't.
saying?
He doesn't respect them because he doesn't respect almost anyone.
Right. Okay. Next question. What are your thoughts, Travis, on the development of Summer's character? Is she underwritten or just your standard teenage girl? Does she provide a strong counterpart to Morty, or does she just take up space?
This question is dated, I think, and while we have developed Summer's, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a dated question. Sure.
I think the subsequent seasons have definitely shown the development of Summer's character. They will occasionally use her as that standard teenage girl, stereotype, but she is definitely a lot more than that, and she is an interesting character that is very capable of having a big impact for the family and going on adventures and being pretty awesome. And so I don't know. I think where this episode sits as the first adventure that she goes on with Rick, she shows that she is capable of holding her own and thinking on the fly, and she's really the one that gets Rick and herself out of this whole crushing you with a boulder death sentence. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot more to Summer, and this is just the first glimpse that we really get of her in the series.
I agree. Up till this point in the series, we haven't seen her beyond just being on her phone, playing them Christmas drums,
Drum.
doing the monologue from Jaws, black eyes, like a doll's eyes. And we don't see her doing much other than reacting. And this is the first time we see her as a character with agency and doing stuff and going out on adventures and wanting to go out on an adventure in Morty's place. And yeah, I mean, she's the one who, sure, she gets them into the mess, but she's the one who gets them out through her thick thinking, her quick thinking. It's late, I think. Her quick thinking and Mark Jacobs' top, which
right.
I found out in the commentary, that is a real top. That is Mark Jacobs at some point in time tweeted a picture of it because for design, Royland just had a bunch of pictures with tops, and then he chose that one from Marc Jacobs catalog.
Yeah.
So
It,
that's
it
real top, everybody.
it really is weird from an animation standpoint that Summer is wearing a different shirt because
Yeah,
every other episode of the series she's pretty much wearing the same thing, as is every character in the show. But yeah, so it is kind of like, oh yeah, Summer's wearing something different. That's
yeah, right.
okay.
Throws us off. Yeah, especially at first if you don't know that she's going to be a huge part of the episode.
Right.
Because up at
Yeah.
this point in time, she hasn't been
Mm-hmm.
in the series.
Which kind of leads, a follow up to that other question with them asking if they develop Summer further, where can you see them going with her character? What's the best possible scenario, and where would you like to see them go? And I think we've definitely seen this over 3 seasons of the show. But do you think there's any unexplored territory that they haven't really gotten into with Summer that maybe in season 4 or beyond you'd like to see the writers try to work with?
Yeah, if Morty is Jerry's son, then I would like to see them explore more of Summer being Beth's daughter, and
Mm.
and seeing how uh, that thread goes. Right? Does she take after more of her mother's side of Rick, or does she? I mean, we've seen so far that she's clearly more capable and competent than Morty is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Until Morty gets pissed off, and then he just he starts getting kind of devious. But I like to see them go that direction with her, and kind of put her at the forefront. I know they did in the comics. They've been doing it in the comics. I'd like to see more of it. How about you?
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on with, especially with the stuff that they've done in the comics. I think the Mad Max, the Blood Dome type Summer,
Yeah.
just
Battle
kind of,
League.
yeah, going out on her own and being a little bit more of a force of nature there, is really cool. There are times where as they develop her character more, I feel like it's harder for them to revert back to using her as just sitting on the couch on her cell phone, not caring. But
Right.
people are complicated beings, and I think she can have a lot of awesomeness to her, and also just want to chill and browse Instagram on the couch. Like she can do both. So, but yeah,
Right,
I would
right.
love to see more even Summer centric episodes, and I really like the fact that they've continued to develop the character.
Yeah, absolutely. Travis, you have some favorite bits, right?
I do,
What
and
hit me with like one or two,
the
one or two to 10 to
the
15.
the first bit I have kind of leads into something that we started talking about before we recorded, but I want to expand on a little bit more. So I'm going to use it as a segue. But every time that Morty messes up as a dad, at the end of those scenes, when it pans over and you realize that Jerry's been in the room the whole time, and he's just like, nice. or there's like a second one where both him and Beth are in the room and they're like reading newspapers separately. Nice, Morty. I just, every time that happens, it cracks me up. But you talked about enjoying this episode more as a parent. So I want to talk a little bit about the scenes where Morty is trying to parent Morty Jr. and just kind of like what stands out to you in those scenes, and what do you have a greater appreciation for now that you have a Brandon Jr.?
Brandon Jr. It's when this first when this episode first came out, my son was, not, he can speak or hold his head up like a normal human being should. And so now he's 6, and he's got his personality, and he's starting to get a little defiant here and there, and I'm having to now
Talking about wanting to dance on the graves of his enemies and all this stuff.
like he understands things more, so he understands things like like right and wrong and death and damnation and stuff like that. He understands that stuff. And as a parent trying to explain some of that stuff and and getting frustrated with, at some point in time you just have to listen to me because you can understand a little bit but you can't understand it completely.
Because the air
And more
outside is poison, okay?
yeah, because I said so. uh and and just Morty, who is a 14-year-old learning how to raise a kid, and
who
who
who is about to out be older than him after like 6 hours.
right, just life experience. He doesn't have the complete life experience, and there's a line in there that I love, which is parents are just children having children, and just how true is that? Like
I mean, we are kids, realistically. Like, we're getting to be older kids. You talked about wanting to make sure you caught an episode of 60 Minutes, and I was like, dang, you're old. But yeah, I mean, it is, and there's a lot of stuff that happens very early on in this part of the episode where it feels so real as a parent, where like you have Jerry saying, oh, well, yeah, like you should handle a situation one way, and Beth, oh, you should handle it the complete opposite way, and both of them just judging Morty with every decision he makes. And Morty's just trying to do his best. And that's how you feel as a parent a lot of the time. Is just I'm gonna do my best to hopefully not screw this kid up.
yes,
And if they can feed themselves and bathe themselves and somehow get a job when they're old enough, then hopefully I've done my part, and they're well adjusted and not, creeps in their basement making podcasts or something.
It's so interesting that I watched the episode today because there's two different situations today alone where Chelsea and I were talking about the kid, and one situation is she is all about embracing her emotion and not like stifling her crying and displaying emotion. I used to cry a lot as a kid, and then I sucked it up, and now I don't display any emotion. And so like we had like a little uh not bashing our heads together, but like, yeah, it's okay if you cry, but there has to be a limit to what he cries about. And she's like, to, you know display emotion. The second one was, he was talking about getting picked on at school, and some kid was like, hey, you clap like this, and then like was making fun of the way my son claps. And my advice to him was, what you do then is you say, your face claps like that, and just say that to him. And
you need to write a parenting book. That's all I'm saying.
And Chelsea's advice was, you do not do that. This is how you clap. You do not do that. And distinctly different parenting styles. But again, parents are children having children. My son was my age, really at the same time my parents were my age, and I just know how I am right now, and you know how you are, and our parents were just trying not to screw us up. And I love my parents, but I also hate them. So,
aw, well,
yeah, in some ways,
thanks, parents. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun to watch this episode. And it adds an extra level of craziness when you consider the situation that Morty is a teenager and that he's raising a half alien, half human who is hellbent on destroying the planet. And so it adds a little bit of intensity to it, and the fact that he's aging almost to adulthood within the course of a day. Yeah, it all just adds to it and makes for a pretty interesting situation for Morty to try and deal with. For the most part on his own, just because Summer is out with Rick, it is an interesting situation where we see Morty hanging out mostly with Beth and Jerry on this one. And yeah, their parenting styles are on display as they try to somehow encourage or discourage Morty from his own parenting styles.
Yeah. We'll go find him after I have a tall, cool glass of "I told you so." Like, Dad, come on, Dad, come on,
We gotta go. Come on. One of the other bits that I really enjoyed is some of the subtle like background stuff that's going on Gazorpazorp. The very early on, as they're in the all female portion of the planet, and there's in the background an announcement saying like the spider in section 4 is still alive. Please avoid it all or whatever. And
there may be some delays.
It reminds me of all the times I've been forced to get up from where I was comfortably seated to go deal with the spider.
Along those lines, the whole execution and the giant rock, and then no, you're gonna fall on a lever, and okay, yeah, it was just gonna crush you with a rock. Okay, I just want to tell you you're right because you're an asshole. Which is, yeah, I mean that's Chelsea. So I mean, good job, Harmon. You got it. You nailed her. But I mean, you didn't nail her. But if you did, I need some money. Okay. We
Go
have
ahead.
a couple fan thoughts. Over on Twitter, Devani Anjali writes, "If it weren't for Rick, Morty proved he'd be more Jerry than Jerry in this episode." Going back to those parents, what do you think of that thought?
Yeah, sure. I honestly think if Jerry was in the position Morty was with a rapidly aging killer alien baby, Jerry would have jerried it up even worse.
Like Morty Jr. or Jerry Jr. maybe would be it. Would have just he would have ran amok and he would have destroyed the earth.
Jerry would be armless, bleeding out on the floor as his Gazorpazorpian child wreaked havoc on the neighborhood.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have a book written about him.
Yeah,
you know that's what really the moral of that story is. Jerry is not capable of having a book written about him. JREX 007 thought the summer storyline was stronger, and I agree with that. I agree with that, in specifically for the showing us that Summer has growth as a character this early on in the season. Morty, he doesn't really learn anything other than, parenting is hard and we don't get as much credit as we should until we're older. But Summer grew, and I think that I agree with that.
Yeah. And we got to see Rick try to make a portal gun out of sex robots. So, I mean, what more do you want?
What more do you want? It has everything. It has Summer in a Marc Jacobs top. It has boobs in the background. It has sex robots. Everything.
Perfect.
Everything a man needs.
Well, overall, I think this is a good episode. I mean, most of them are, but it certainly doesn't rank up as one of the top 10 maybe for me. But good stuff, and I'm glad that we get to see the immersion of Summer, the character, and instead of more of the Summer, the background art.
Yeah, I think it's a good. I think it's in the top 10 for this season.
For the season, definitely. I would definitely say it's in the top. Wait, yeah,
definitely. All right. Well, hey, Unity, go ahead. Send us your thoughts. What you thought of the episode. Anything we discussed. If you have any comments, thoughts, concerns, goals, ambitions, desires, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us on email, Facebook, wherever. Just let us know. Talk to us. We're here if you need to talk.
Oh, well, nice done. Nicely done. We're killing it here.
Done.
Speaking of killing it. Speaking of killing it, it's time
so old. I fucked up.
It's time
so old at night.
It's time for Blood Dome Battle League.
Oh, jeez. Okay, this week on Blood Dome Battle League, go. Travis, who do we have? Who do we have in the Blood Dome Battle League?
We got Aberdolf Fleekler versus Beta 7.
Oh dang!
You know, some crazy mixed up matches here.
When we said to each other, "Hey, we're recording this weekend, right?" and we both said yes, because I think we asked at the same time. That's the only way this line of sentence works. And I was like, no, well, we got to prepare. We got to do the narrative for the Blood Dome Battle League. And so this morning, with coffee in my hand and a Bloody Mary in the other, I started typing. I don't know how I typed because maybe I did voice to text, whatever. And I typed out this whole thing, and I looked up quotes from Abraham Lincoln and Adolf Hitler for the whole thing. I had this whole spiel. It wasn't very good though. That's is the thing, because I had more Abraham Lincoln quotes because I'm like, fuck that guy. I don't want to.
It's like when you're writing an 8th grade history paper and you're like, I'll just put a ton of quotes in it and that'll help me get to my like 500 word maximum minimum that I gotta hit.
100%. That's exactly what I was doing. And then after I finished, I remembered we had an email from a listener.
Yay!
Assassin versus Assassin, and they gave us the narrative. So everyone out there, Unity, this isn't us. This isn't our beautiful work here. This is from a listener, and yeah, we'll talk about this more. But here's a narrative. Travis, do you want to do it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Aberdolf Linkler stands covered in blood, having sacrificed himself so that Rick and Morty could escape this strange planet. But his life was still his. As he moved through the brush, he found a small group of cyborg men. Something about them drove half of them mad with rage. A rage his other half couldn't understand or control. In anger, he ran from the brush quickly, snapping Beta 7's neck, taking his gun and shooting the other. A third approached, and he fired quickly, taking it down as well. His rage driving him, but now he found himself surrounded by Beta 7. Assimilate or die, they offer. I don't know. He sounds nerdy. I'm doing my best, Patton Oswalt. You know. As Aberdolf Linkler's anger flared, he started to raise his gun, but his other hand grabbed his own wrist, no longer able to stand the hatred. He dropped the gun and to his knees. All men are created equal, he admits. It is true, Beta agrees. We see you share the same goal to unite all as one. Come, we shall return you home so you... Beta 7 offers a hand in friendship. Aberdolf Linkler quickly picks up the gun, shooting all of Beta 7 down in one quick motion. All men deserve to be free, he says. Dun, dun, dun. Linkler wins.
Linkler wins.
The great thing about this narrative is he gives us two endings. He gives us a choose your own adventure depending on how the poll went.
It's like the movie Clue. It's awesome.
Yeah, I like the other ending, which is Beta 7 winning, and Aberdolf Linkler takes Beta 7's hand with a bit of a smile. All men are equal under my rule, Beta 7 says, grabbing Aberdolf Linkler by the face and vomiting into his mouth, bringing him under the hive mind's control.
Very well done. Awesome. Awesome work, Assassin versus Assassin.
We appreciate you. That's awesome. And yeah, obviously Linkler wins 9-91 on Twitter. He won 86-14 on Facebook. Big time. Big time.
He won the popular vote, if you will. So yeah, that was a unique challenge to take on, having a blend of historical figures winning out versus a hive mind. But I think you did a great job. And yeah, if you out there, Unity, would like your version of a Blood Dome Battle League to be the pick of the week, then definitely send us your responses. We appreciate everybody that goes out to Facebook or Twitter and votes, so that we can actually kind of do these polls and figure out who wins. But if you're interested on taking it one step further, Yeah, I mean, we'll write them. I mean, Brandon will write a whole rap if he has to.
Oh God.
But if you have a cool idea of how one of these battles would go down, then definitely send us your synopsis, and we'll maybe we'll just read it on its own. Maybe we'll blend some ideas together. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And be sure get your pencils ready, because here is the announcement for next week or next episode. next time on the Blood Dome Battle League, we have Answer My Eyes Johnson versus Top Hat Jones, the battle of the interdimensional television crew. That's right. Next time on Blood Dome Battle League. Cut that off. Okay.
All right. There's only time for one more segment on the show, which is typically one of my favorites, because it's when we get to talk about you, Unity, and that's listener suggestions and short outs. We've been all over the map lately with April Fool's gags and vacations and all sorts of stuff. So we're seeing your tweets. We're trying to stay involved on social media, and thank you to everybody that's continuing to connect with the show. But for the most part, we haven't had a whole lot of new reviews or sort of standout tweets that we wanted to feature this week. And really, the fact of the matter is we have a couple of patrons from Patreon.com who are stepping up their game, and they are. I want to tell a little bit of backstory here. Brandon messed with our Patreon account and decided to change some of the incentives that people got for certain donation levels. So for a long time, he thought that if you donated, I think, $10 a month, that he would like open a phone line or something.
So 15.
Oh, 15.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
I had it that way for a long time.
He was gonna like open a phone line and let you call in and stuff. I think we should just open it up and let you guys call in, but I don't know. We'll discuss it. We'll figure it out. But we had a couple of people donate $15, and he forgot that he had changed the perk to patrons at this level getting a personalized song in a very Brandon fashion.
That's right. And I didn't want to just do a shitty improv song that according to our friend Sire Dark, quoting this episode,
it's not as cute as you think it is,
or as clever as you think it is. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to at least put a little bit of effort into it, and a little bit of effort I did. So without further ado, here's my first song for our friend Tyler. Oh yeah, baby, here we go. He's a mustache man, it's Techno. Oh, he's a mustache man, his name is Techno. Scrolling through his Twitter feed and I see him. He likes some Simpsons, and he likes other things including mustaches. He's part of a mustache convention. He's part of a mustache convention. I don't know what else you can do with the mustaches, but I must ask you, I'm not saying question. You know there's a joke about mustache. I think that's the joke. Must ask you a question. Oh, I finally get it now. It's mustache. I must ask you a question. Okay, get it now. Oh, I get it now. Thank you, Tyler Techno. He's a mustache man. Yeah, that's song number one.
That's song numero uno.
Yeah.
Thank goodness only two people have but hey, everybody else, head over there.
Thanks. Thank you, Tyler.
Let's throw those $15 donations in, and we'll keep Brandon gainfully employed. And with that, in mind. I'm sorry I'm laughing in the background of your songs. I'll make sure Brandon sends you clean audio versions
Yes.
of these on Patreon so that you
with a lyric sheet.
yeah, and then
So
you can like
can
make it your ringtone
sing.
or your incoming voicemail message or something. I don't know what you can do with these songs, but we got one more in the can, right, Brandon?
That's right. Scooty Puff Senior. This is for you, my friend. Sometimes in your life, you know you've got to get the moves and the grooves. I'm talking Justin. He is called J2. He is also known on Twitter, Scooty Puff Senior too. He's got the nighttime blues and the daytime grooves. Oh yeah, baby, I'm talking news now. He watches Fox News or maybe NBC. I'm talking MSNBC, not the regular TV. With the Big Bang Theory and whatever else is on the show. I don't know anything else, but here's what I know. J2's got the nighttime blues and got the grooves. J2's got the nighttime blues and the daytime grooves. J2's got the nighttime blues and the daytime grooves. Stupid. Yeah.
I love that you're highlighting your own backup vocals there for the video. That was a nice touch, Brandon.
My favorite part of that song is just like I imagine like the backup singers doing that, like kind of we got the move, we got like really funky. Anyways, so thank you to both of you for listening, for supporting us, and even if you know, honestly, just listening, all of the listeners out there, we appreciate all of you. So don't hesitate to just send us messages. Don't give us money. It's fine. We love you for being you.
We don't
change.
We don't need your charity, your chair and
your chair and the Apple stand caper. We don't need that.
But we do appreciate it. Don't get us wrong, especially as we threw extra money at our website over the last couple of weeks due to a unfortunate Reddit hug of death, which, you know, #blessed. Thank you. But yeah, we appreciate everybody. And if you've been listening for a long time, thank you. If you've only been listening for a week or two, we appreciate you too. And hopefully this show is continuing to kind of pique your excitement about Rick and Morty, and one day we'll have new episodes to talk about. But it's fun going back and looking at these old episodes, so I'm glad we have plenty left to talk about. And what's up next, Brandon? I didn't look ahead on the Wikipedia page.
You didn't look ahead. Well, I think I gave you a hint. I gave you a hint, Travis, of exactly what's going to be on next. It's going to be Rick's minutes, brother. Blood Dome Battle Egg. Battle of the Interdimensional Television Stars.
We're going to need 2 hours for that episode, Brandon.
We are going clip by clip.
Deep dive.
Spending no less than 10 to 15 minutes on each clip.
We could easily do it.
Can't wait.
We could easily do it. Well, with that in mind, we're so done. We're so done.
We're done.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Go watch Rick's Minutes. Let us know what your favorite little bits are from that episode. And in a couple weeks, we'll talk about it. But until then, I'm Travis.
And I'm Brandon.
Thanks for making it this far, guys.
Bye.
Bye. So I haven't stopped the video, so this is bonus material for video viewers only.
Bonus material? Holy shit!
Yeah,
we're doing that now.
Well, I mean,
we're doing.
I guess we are because it's happening. Internet is weird, right? It's like a series of tubes, and sometimes you being on the other side of the internet makes you glitch out or makes you completely disconnect. So I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best to to patch those holes where you were clearly talking to me and we didn't hear any of it. But if I don't do a great job, well, thank you, patrons, for putting up with our nonsense. And and hey, you get to see Brandon dance. So
seriously,
I mean,
no,
you got that going for you.
Thank you. Internet is super weird in that respect because most times when we're recording, I see like Travis and I will be talking, and then Travis's end will usually be the one that glitches out. So it's kind of a new situation for me to be glitching out on you. But the thing is when Travis glitches out, it's usually when he starts talking. So I don't really. I mean, I look how I normally look, where I'm not paying attention to him, and then I just wait for him to stop talking, and then I jump in. It doesn't matter what his point is.
You just move on. Whatever I said, it doesn't really matter. So.
That's right.
Anyway, well, thanks for listening, everybody, or thanks for
you.
watching. Because I mean, if you're seeing this, you're watching it. So
right, bonus content.
Bonus content.
Bonus.
Bye.
Bye.